Chapter 1 The Morning After. Jamie didn't know what hurt more, his head, or the horrifying fact that he couldn't remember a single thing after his fifth glass of champagne. He groaned, rolling over in the soft hotel bed. His mouth tasted like bad decisions and regret. Then his hand brushed against something warm and solid, and breathing. He froze. Slowly, so slowly, Jamie turned his head. There, lying peacefully beside him like some kind of Greek god who accidentally wandered into a mortal's nightmare, was Adrian Cole, his boss, the CEO, the literal reason Jamie's anxiety existed. Oh, my God. Jamie slapped a hand over his mouth. His eyes darted around the room, the floor scattered with clothes, his shirt halfway across the lamp, and Adrian's expensive watch glinting on the nightstand, like evidence at a crime scene. Okay, maybe this is a dream, he whispered to himself. A horrible, sexy, lawsuit-worthy dream. He pinched his arm. Nope. Definitely real. Adrian shifted beside him, the blanket sliding down to reveal a BS that looked sculpted by angels and sin itself. Jamie's brain, error 404, no thoughts, only panic. Morning, Adrian said, his deep voice way too calm for someone who may have just ruined an employee's life. Jamie squeaked, literally squeaked, and scrambled off the bed, clutching the blanket around him like it could shield him from reality. What happened last night? Adrian propped himself up on an elbow, smirk tugging at his lips. You don't remember? Jamie blinked rapidly. Should I? Well, Adrian's smirk grew. You were very enthusiastic. Jamie's soul left his body. No. Nitrogen monoxide, no. He grabbed his pants, tripped over them, fell, and got up again in one motion. We couldn't, you're my boss. Adrian stretched lazily, looking unfairly good for someone who just emotionally destroyed a man before breakfast. Relax, Jamie. I don't mix business with pleasure. Jamie froze mid-panic. So nothing happened. Adrian's lips curved. You'll never know. Jamie screamed internally. He grabbed his bag, his shoes, and possibly his dignity, bolting out of the hotel room. His life was officially over. He'd have to quit, move to another city, maybe another planet. 2 weeks later, Jamie stared at the pregnancy test in the office bathroom, sitting on the floor like a tragic movie character. 2 pink lines. 2 pink lines. He laughed, the kind of laugh that sounded like it was one breath away from sobbing. Ha ha ha. Great. I'm in a Wattpad story. He banged his head lightly against the wall. This can't be happening. I can barely keep a cactus alive. How am I supposed to raise a baby? And knock on the door. Jamie. Adrian's deep voice. You've been in there a while. Jamie froze. The universe hates me. I just washing my hands. He stammered. You sound strange. Are you okay? Jamie stuffed the test into his pocket and splashed water on his face like that would somehow erase his sins. He opened the door with the fakest smile known to mankind. Ha, totally fine. Just a digestive emergency. Adrian frowned slightly. Sleeves rolled up, tie loose, looking like the dictionary definition of trouble. You're pale. Jamie laughed nervously. Just tired. Definitely not pregnant, Adrian's brows shot up. What? Nothing. He tried to walk past, but Adrian caught his wrist, gently, firmly. The world seemed to pause. Jamie, he said quietly, his voice dropping to that tone that made Jamie's stomach twist. Are you hiding something from me? Jamie swallowed. And no, sir, I just... And that's when his phone dinged. From his best friend. Did you tell your baby daddy yet? Adrian's gaze dropped to the screen. Jamie's life flashed before his eyes. Chapter 2 The Baby Daddy. Jamie's phone pinged. A cheerful little ding. That, in any other situation, would have been harmless. But not now. Not when Adrian Cole's CEO boss, nightmare, and recent potential co-parent was standing right in front of him. The screen lit up with a message that might as well have been a death sentence. Bestie texts, did you tell your baby daddy yet? Jamie's soul left his body. He swore he could see it floating above him, waving goodbye. Adrian's eyebrow lifted, slowly, dangerously. Baby, daddy, he repeated, voice low enough to make Jamie's heartbeat trip. Jamie laughed, high-pitched and fake. Ha. Oh, that's, just autocorrect. My friend meant sugar daddy. Adrian blinked. That's better. Jamie wanted the earth to open up and swallow him whole. No. I don't have a sugar daddy. I barely have a normal salary. Jamie. Adrian's tone was calm, but his eyes had that look. The one that could make board members cry and interns quit. What's going on? Nothing, Jamie chirped, taking a step back. Just regular employee things. Totally not hormonal or emotional or morning sick. He froze. Adrian's head tilted slightly. Morning what? Nothing. But Adrian was already stepping closer, each stride slow and confident. Jamie backed up until his back hit the wall. You're acting strange, Adrian murmured, eyes searching his face. You've been pale for days. You flinch every time I say your name. You smell. He paused, nostrils flaring slightly, as if catching something faint in the air. Different. Jamie's brain screamed. Abort mission. Flee. Jump out the window. I smell like soap, he blurted. New soap. Citrus. Fresh lemons. Adrian's lips twitched. Jamie, sir. Are you? He said slowly, his voice dropping lower. Pregnant. Jamie blinked. Once. Twice. Then, because his body was 90% panic and 10% poor decision-making, he said, define pregnant. Adrian sighed. Jamie. Jamie broke. Okay, maybe a little. The words exploded out of him before he could stop them. Then silence. Just the soft hum of the office lights and Jamie's heart pounding like a drum. Adrian's face went blank. A little. Jamie waved his hands. I mean, not like a lot I'm not showing yet. But there's something, possibly, maybe, hypothetically. Adrian just stared. Then, to Jamie's absolute horror, his mouth curved into a slow, almost amused smile. So, he said quietly, you're telling me I'm going to be a father. Jamie made a noise that was somewhere between a sob and a hiccup. Please don't fire me. Adrian stepped closer again, eyes warm but unreadable. Fire you? He leaned in slightly, voice a deep rumble. I think you underestimate how hard it would be to let you go, Jamie. Jamie's brain. Did he just flirt while I'm confessing pregnancy? Who does that? He opened his mouth to reply, but the door burst open. Sir, there's an emergency in finance. The intern froze mid-sentence, staring at them standing very close together. Then her eyes darted to Jamie's flushed face. Then to Adrian's hand, still resting lightly on Jamie's arm. Oh, she said, and left. Jamie groaned. Great. The entire office is going to think I'm mine, Adrian finished for him, tone casual. Jamie's face went nuclear. You can't just say things like that. Adrian smiled, stepping back just slightly, like a cat who knew exactly how much chaos he'd caused. We'll discuss this later. My office. After lunch. Jamie blinked. Wait, what? Adrian was already walking away, calm and composed as ever. And Jamie? Why, yes. Adrian glanced over his shoulder, a small smirk tugging at his lips. Don't run this time. Jamie stood there, frozen, one hand over his chest like it could hold his sanity together. Oh my God, he whispered. He's going to dad me to death. Chapter 3. Jamie arrived at work the next morning determined to act normal. Keyword, determined. Reality, failure. He'd spent all night replaying yesterday in his head the text, the confrontation, Adrian saying don't run this time. Like, who even says things like that? What was he, a rom-com villain or the main character in Jamie's worst best dream? Anyway, new day, new start. No more drama. He marched through the lobby with his coffee, ignoring the way everyone suddenly went quiet. Wait, why was everyone quiet? Good morning, Jamie, the receptionist said a little too sweetly. How are you feeling today? Jamie blinked. Fine. Any cravings? She asked. He choked on his coffee. What? But before he could ask what was going on, the intern from yesterday, aka the human disaster who'd walked in at the worst moment possible, appeared, pale and sweating. Jamie, I might have accidentally told someone something, she whispered. Jamie's eye twitched. What something? About the baby? Jamie froze. What baby? The one you're having. He stared at her, mouth open, like his brain had blue screened. I told you not to say anything. You never said that. I thought it was implied. By the time he reached his desk, whispers were flying around the entire floor. Did you hear? The CEO's assistant. With Mr. Cole. Corporate romance gone wild. Jamie wanted to melt into the floor. He sat down, opened his laptop, and prayed for spontaneous combustion. Of course, that was when he walked in. Adrian Cole. in a black suit and calm composure that screamed intimidatingly hot authority figure. The entire office went silent. You could have heard a pin drop. "Good morning," Adrian said, voice smooth as espresso. His eyes flicked briefly to Jamie, who immediately pretended to be deeply fascinated by his keyboard. "Mr. Cole," someone dared to say. "Congratulations." Adrian paused. "On what?" Jamie nearly passed out. The employee, bright-eyed and oblivious, smiled. "On the baby news. You must be thrilled." The silence that followed could have frozen time. Adrian's gaze slowly shifted to Jamie, whose face had gone through all 7 stages of grief in 5 seconds. "Jamie," Adrian said calmly. "My office, now." Jamie stumbled inside, clutching his laptop like a shield. "I can explain," he squeaked before Adrian even shut the door. "Can you?" Adrian crossed his arms, looking far too composed for a man whose entire company thought he'd knocked up his assistant. "Because I just had 3 board members congratulate me on my upcoming fatherhood." Jamie flailed. "It's not my fault." The intern said something, and then everyone started whispering. And then someone probably posted it in the company group chat. And Jamie, he stopped mid-panic. Adrian exhaled slowly. "We need to contain this. If it spreads outside the company, the press will have a field day." Jamie nodded weakly. "Yes, sir. Totally. I cannot deny everything." "No." Adrian's eyes softened slightly. "That will only make it worse." Jamie blinked. "Then what do we do?" Adrian hesitated for a moment then said, completely straight-faced, "We pretend we're dating." Jamie almost fell off his chair. "We what?" "It's the cleanest solution," Adrian continued smoothly. "If we control the narrative, there'll be no scandal." Jamie gaped. "You want me to fake date my boss who is also the father of my hypothetical baby just to stop office gossip?" "Yes," Adrian said simply. "And before you say no, think of it as damage control." Jamie buried his face in his hands. "Oh my God, this is going to kill me." Adrian's lips twitched, almost a smile. "You'll live. Probably." By lunchtime, the company chat was on fire. Office Doc sent a text, CEO and assistant officially together. Finance Bro 69 texts knew it. The way he looks at him. Her lady texts that explains the snack deliveries to Jamie's desk. Jamie stared at his phone in despair. This is hell. Adrian, beside him in the elevator, simply adjusted his tie. "Smile," he murmured. "You're supposed to look like you're in love." Jamie turned to glare at him, but Adrian was already smirking. And maybe, just maybe, Jamie's heart skipped a beat. Jamie wasn't sure what was worse, the rumor that he was pregnant with his boss's baby, or the fact that his boss's solution to that rumor was, apparently, pretending to date him. "Smile," Adrian said the next morning as they stepped into the building together. Jamie blinked. "I am smiling." "That looks like you're in physical pain." "I am in physical pain," Jamie hissed through clenched teeth. People are staring. And they were. Employees lined the hallway, whispering like a live audience. Someone even gasped when Adrian casually placed a hand on Jamie's lower back. Purely for show, of course. At least that's what Jamie told himself while his brain exploded. By lunch, Adrian had apparently gone method actor mode. He walked Jamie to the cafeteria, carried his tray, pulled out his chair like some old-school movie boyfriend. Every eye in the building was on them. Jamie leaned closer and whispered, "You're overdoing it." "I'm selling it," Adrian murmured. "You wanted this to look convincing, didn't you?" "I wanted less public humiliation," Jamie muttered. Adrian's lips twitched, almost a smile. Too late for that. Things only got worse when they left for a business lunch, aka their first fake date. Adrian's idea of subtlety was taking Jamie to the most expensive restaurant in the city. People were taking pictures before they even ordered. Jamie sat stiffly across from him, trying not to make eye contact. "Everyone's watching," he mumbled. "Good," Adrian said. "They'll believe the story." "You sound way too calm about this." "I'm used to attention." "Well, I'm not." Adrian actually chuckled, and Jamie had to look away because, apparently, his boss had dimples. Dimples weren't fair. Midway through lunch, a reporter appeared near the door. Adrian leaned forward, lowering his voice. "Smile. They're taking photos." Jamie plastered on the most awkward smile imaginable. Adrian sighed. "Not like that." "Well, I'm sorry. I didn't study at the Fake Boyfriend Academy." Adrian leaned closer. "Relax." "How do you expect me to relax when And then Adrian reached over, his hand brushing Jamie's cheek, a gentle, steady, practiced. "Breathe," he said quietly, eyes locked on his. "You're shaking." Jamie's heart tried to escape through his ribs. "I'm fine," he stammered, staring at the tablecloth. "You're terrible at lying," Adrian murmured, soft enough that only Jamie could hear. Jamie glared weakly. "Stop being nice. It's confusing." Adrian smiled, leaning back again, a picture of calm. "Good. Then it's working." They left the restaurant just as a small crowd gathered outside. Flashbulbs went off. Jamie blinked at the sea of cameras and froze. "Oh my God," he whispered. "This is a nightmare." Adrian's voice was low, steady. "Just follow my lead." Before Jamie could ask what he meant, Adrian slipped an arm around his waist, pulled him a little closer and whispered, "Smile again." Jamie's brain short-circuited. He was so sure his heart was going to explode that he forgot to breathe. Click, click, click. The photographers went wild. And just when Jamie thought it couldn't get worse, Adrian leaned down and pressed a light, perfectly timed kiss to his cheek. Jamie froze. Someone gasped. Someone else screamed. Confirmed. Jamie's thoughts. "Oh no. Oh no no no. My face is on fire." An hour later, they were back at the office. Jamie had barely sat down when his phone started vibrating uncontrollably. Notifications, texts, mentions. He opened one. Trending topic number 1. CEO Adrian Cole caught kissing mystery assistant. Jamie stared at it in horror. "Adrian," he said weakly, holding up the screen. "We're trending." Adrian didn't even look surprised. "Good. That means it worked." "Worked?" Jamie squeaked. "I look like a love-struck toddler." Adrian smirked faintly. "You looked adorable." Jamie opened his mouth, closed it, and decided speech was no longer an option. He just buried his face in his hands and muttered, "I'm never showing my face in public again." Adrian's quiet chuckle filled the room. "Too late, Jamie. The world already knows." Chapter 5. Jamie's day started with chaos. Not emotional chaos this time, actual, physical, camera-flashing chaos. By 8 a.m., 3 reporters were outside his apartment. A microphone was shoved through his gate, and someone yelled, "Jamie, are you carrying the CEO's baby?" Jamie screamed, dropped his cereal, and immediately called Adrian. Adrian picked up on the first ring. "Stay inside," he said calmly. "There are journalists outside my door." "I know. Why do you sound so calm?" "Because I'm already downstairs." Jamie ran to the window, and there he was. Adrian Cole, in sunglasses and an expression that said, "I control the stock market and probably your life." Within minutes, Jamie was bundled into the back seat of Adrian's car, clutching his backpack like a lifeline. They drove in silence for a while, mostly because Jamie was too busy spiraling. He finally blurted out, "Where are we going? Please tell me it's not a secret lab where you race witnesses." Adrian's mouth twitched. "My penthouse." Jamie blinked. "You're what now?" "It's safer," Adrian said. "The press won't bother you there." Jamie sputtered. "I can't just move in with you." "Temporarily," Adrian corrected, "until the situation calms down." Jamie crossed his arms. "That's insane." Adrian turned slightly, his gaze calm but firm. "You're pregnant. The media's circling your apartment, and the office thinks we're dating. At this point, insane is our baseline." Jamie opened his mouth, then closed it. "You make a very annoying amount of sense." Cole Penthouse, aka Luxury Overload. The elevator doors opened and Jamie instantly forgot how to breathe. The place looked like a hotel that had eaten another hotel and then decided it deserved more marble. "This isn't a house," Jamie whispered. "This is a museum with furniture." Adrian handed him a keycard. "You'll stay here until things settle down." Jamie frowned. "And where will you stay?" Adrian raised an eyebrow. "Here." Jamie blinked. Oh no. By evening, Jamie had settled in a sort of. His things looked painfully out of place among Adrian's sleek furniture. His sneakers sat next to rows of polished black shoes like they'd wandered into the wrong tax bracket. That afternoon, Jamie had attempted to thank Adrian by making pancakes. 10 minutes later, the smoke alarm was screaming. A spatula was on the floor, and Adrian appeared holding a fire extinguisher like it was a normal part of breakfast prep. "I swear it wasn't that burnt," Jamie protested, waving a pan that looked like modern art. Adrian just sighed. "Next time, let's order takeout." From that moment on, Jamie was banned from unsupervised kitchen activity. Still, Adrian was weirdly kind about it. He'd stocked the kitchen with snacks, set up a workspace for Jamie, even left a note. Text me if you need anything. Try not to set off the fire alarm again. Jamie pretended that didn't make his heart flutter. Later that night, Jamie found Adrian in the kitchen, sleeves rolled up, making tea like he was auditioning for a Husband of the Year commercial. You didn't have to do all this, Jamie said, leaning against the counter. Adrian looked up. Do what? Take care of me. Protect me. Let me stay here. You could have just told me to handle it myself. Adrian's expression softened. I told you before, Jamie, I'm responsible too. Jamie swallowed. You make it sound easy. It's not, Adrian admitted quietly. But I don't mind. For a moment, the world went quiet. Just the soft hum of the city outside and the faint steam from the kettle. Jamie looked at him, really looked, and thought, he's not as scary as I thought. Maybe he's just lonely too. Then Adrian turned, handed him a cup, and said, don't drink it too fast. It's hot. Jamie promptly burned his tongue. Adrian sighed. You're hopeless. Jamie groaned. It's part of my charm. That night, Jamie lay in the ridiculously soft guest bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment of the car ride. The tea, the quiet warmth in Adrian's voice. He pulled the covers tighter around him, heart thumping. It's fake, he reminded himself. It's all just pretend. And yet, down the hall, Adrian couldn't sleep either. He kept hearing Jamie's laugh, soft, tired, but real. He told himself it was all part of the plan, just keeping him safe. Still, when he passed Jamie's room later to check the locks, he paused at the door and smiled faintly at the sound of quiet snoring. Hopeless, he whispered again. But maybe, he thought, that wasn't such a bad thing. Chapter 6. Jamie woke up at 3:17 a.m. with one thought, and one thought only. If I don't get spicy noodles right now, I will die. He sat up in bed, hair messy, eyes wild, wrapped in a blanket like an emotionally unstable burrito. Okay, he whispered to himself. This is fine. Just cravings. I can ignore it. I'm strong. 10 seconds later, he was tiptoeing into the kitchen in fuzzy socks. Adrian heard the noise first. At 3:22 a.m., he walked out of his room, tie loosened, sleep-deprived but somehow still looking like a drama lead. He stopped at the sight before him. Jamie crouched on the counter, trying to reach the top shelf, muttering, why are the noodles up there? Who even puts food this high? Adrian blinked. Jamie, why are you climbing my counters? Jamie froze. Sleepwalking. Sleepwalking doesn't involve boiling water. Jamie looked at the pot on the stove, then back at him. Advanced sleepwalking. Adrian sighed and walked over, plucking the instant noodles from the cabinet like it was no big deal. You could have just asked. Jamie pouted. It's embarrassing. What's embarrassing? Craving spicy food at ungodly hours. Adrian handed him the packet. You're pregnant, not possessed. Jamie glared. You say that like there's a difference. 5 minutes later, they were sitting on the kitchen floor, because Jamie insisted the counter was too fancy for his peasant noodles. Adrian, in a robe, leaned against the fridge, watching. Jamie slurped noodles with the kind of satisfaction that made his heart do weird things. Stop staring at me, Jamie mumbled, cheeks full. I'm not. You are. I'm observing. Creepy word choice, Mr. CEO. Adrian smirked. Fine. I was making sure you don't set the kitchen on fire again. Jamie pointed his chopsticks at him. That was one time, and the fire department remembers it vividly. Jamie burst out laughing, the kind of laugh that came from his whole body, the kind that made Adrian's chest tighten unexpectedly. When the noodles were gone and the clock hit 4 a.m., the mood had softened. The city lights glowed through the window, the storm outside pattering against the glass. Jamie leaned his head on the counter, sighing. You know, you don't have to do all this. Stay up with me, make tea, pretend it's normal. Adrian looked down at him, hair messy, hoodie way too big, eyes half asleep. It's not pretending, he said quietly. You're not alone in this. Jamie blinked. You really mean that? I wouldn't say it otherwise. Something in his voice, a steady, low, sincere, made Jamie's chest flutter. He looked away quickly. You're too nice sometimes. Everyone keeps saying that lately, Adrian replied, smiling faintly. A small silence followed, warm, comfortable, but charged. Chapter 7. Jamie had exactly 10 minutes of peace that morning. 10. Then his phone started buzzing like it was possessed. Trending topic number 1. CEO Adrian Cole and secret lover living together. Trending topic number 2. Exclusive. Who is the mysterious man carrying the CEO's grocery bag? Trending topic number 3. Baby rumors. Inside sources say Jamie choked on his cereal. What inside sources? Adrian walked in, tie perfectly knotted, completely unbothered. You're trending again, he said, sipping his coffee. Again? Adrian, I'm one scandal away from being a meme. Adrian's mouth twitched. At least you look good in the photos. Jamie groaned. I hate you. I know. Adrian replied, deadpan. Now finish breakfast. My mother's coming over. Jamie froze. You're what now? My mother. As in the woman who gave birth to you. Yes. Jamie set down his spoon slowly. I'm going to pass away. Enter Mrs. Cole, elegant, kind, and too observant. Mrs. Cole arrived exactly on time, a graceful woman in pearls and a smile that could both comfort and terrify. Oh, you must be Jamie, she said brightly, pulling him into a hug before he could protest. Jamie stiffened. Hi. Ma single quotes am dash Mrs. dash mother dash a dash Mrs. CEO. She laughed. Just call me Evelyn, dear. I've heard so much about you. Jamie blinked. You have. Adrian coughed behind them. Mom. Oh, don't mom me, Adrian. You bring home a sweet boy. Let him stay with you. And don't even tell me I'm going to be a grandmother soon. Jamie nearly dropped dead on the spot. Grand? What? Nitrogen monoxide. Adrian pinched the bridge of his nose. Mother, please. Evelyn ignored him completely. Jamie, sweetheart, are you eating enough? You look pale. Adrian doesn't cook, you know. Jamie, flustered, he makes tea. Evelyn gasped. Tea is not a meal. My goodness, I'll send my chef over. Adrian sighed. Mom, don't mom me again, young man. Jamie sat there helplessly while Adrian was stoic. Powerful, terrifying. Adrian looked like a scolded child. It was, in a word, glorious. Later that evening, Evelyn eventually left, promising to come by again soon to check on her grandbaby. And Jamie could finally breathe again. He turned to Adrian. Your mom is, wow. Adrian nodded slowly. She's a force of nature. She's also sweet, Jamie admitted. And weirdly supportive. Adrian smiled faintly. That's her way of caring. For a long moment, they sat in silence. The penthouse felt softer. Somehow, the edges of tension replaced with something gentler. Jamie toyed with his sleeve. Do you ever get scared? Adrian glanced over. Of what? Jamie hesitated. Of all this. The future. The baby. Me accidentally setting your kitchen on fire again. That earned a quiet laugh from Adrian. The real kind. The kind that made Jamie's chest ache a little. Then Adrian said, yes, I'm scared of a lot of it. Especially the parts I can't control. Jamie blinked, surprised by the honesty. You scared? Terrified, Adrian admitted softly. But I'm learning. Responsibility doesn't mean never being afraid. It just means not running away from it. Jamie looked down. I'm scared too, he whispered. Not of you, just of ending up alone again. Adrian's expression softened. You're not alone, Jamie. Something in his tone of calm, sincere, made Jamie's heart lurch. They were quiet again, close. The kind of silence that wasn't awkward anymore, just full of unsaid things. Adrian reached up, gently brushing a strand of hair from Jamie's face. Jamie. Jamie's breath caught. Why yeah. Their eyes met. The world felt still. He leaned in, just a little. And then, ding dong. Both froze. Jamie blinked. You have got to be kidding me. Adrian exhaled, straightened his shirt, and went to the door. When he opened it, the last person he expected to see was standing there perfectly dressed, wearing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Hello, Adrian, she said smoothly. It's been a while. Jamie's stomach dropped. Adrian's voice was low, almost careful. Clara. Chapter 8. Adrian, she said softly, with that same polished smile that used to drive him mad. Can we talk? Adrian's throat tightened. Clara. Jamie peeked from the hallway, curious. Adrian immediately stepped outside, shutting the door behind him and twisting the lock. The last thing he wanted was Jamie hearing this. Outside the door, Clara folded her arms. So you're avoiding me now? I'm not avoiding you, Adrian said flatly. I just don't see the point. Her eyes flickered with a mix of hurt and smugness. 3 years, Adrian. Don't you even miss what we had? Adrian sighed. You left, Clara. You walked away. Whatever we had ended that day. I made a mistake, she said, stepping closer. I've had time to think. No, he cut her off. Don't do this. Don't come here to ruin what I have now. Clara's expression faltered. What you have now? With him? Yes, with him, Adrian said without hesitation. So leave, please. Her jaw tightened. You'll regret pushing me away again. Adrian's voice was calm but firm. Maybe, but not today. Clara turned, her heels clicking sharply on the porch as she left. Adrian exhaled, running a hand through his hair before heading back in. Jamie glanced up from his tea. He was at the door. Adrian paused, debating how much to say my ex. Jamie blinked. Oh, that's all it was, Adrian added quickly. Okay. Jamie nodded, forcing a small smile. If you say so. But the silence that followed was heavy like words left and said were hanging in the air between them. The next day, Adrian left early for a meeting. Jamie stayed home, scrolling on his phone when the doorbell rang again. He opened it and froze. Clara stood there, smiling sweetly, holding an envelope. Hi, Jamie. Right. We've met. Briefly. Jamie frowned. Adrian's not home. I know, Clara said, stepping inside uninvited. Actually, I came to see you. Jamie stiffened. Why? She opened the envelope and slid a few glossy photos onto the counter, pictures of her and Adrian together, happy, hugging, smiling. Because you deserve the truth, she said smoothly. Adrian's mine. We've been trying to work things out. He only wants the baby, not you. Jamie stared at the photos, throat closing. That's not true. He told me. Clara's smirk was almost pitying. Of course he'd say that. He's always been good at keeping people calm. Jamie felt his chest tighten. Please leave. Oh, I will, Clara said, picking up her umbrella. But don't say it, I didn't warn you. As soon as she left, Jamie sat on the floor, clutching his stomach. Tears stung his eyes. He wouldn't lie, would he? But the doubt and hormones were too strong. The house felt like a stranger's place now, not a home. He started packing, wiping tears with the back of his hand. It's better this way, he whispered. He doesn't want me. By evening, he was gone, leaving behind only a letter and the faint scent of his cologne. When Adrian came home, the apartment was silent. Too silent. Jamie, he called. No answer. He noticed the empty shelves, the missing shoes, a letter on the table. He opened it with trembling hands. Thank you for everything. I'll stay out of your way from now on. Take care of yourself. And the baby. His heart stopped. He grabbed his phone, blocked. Tried calling, blocked. He drove to Jamie's place in the pouring rain. Adrian banged on the door. Jamie, open up please. No response. He could hear faint movement inside, maybe crying, maybe nothing at all. Jamie, his voice cracked. You've got it wrong. I told her to leave. I told her I wanted you. Still silence. He slid down to the doorstep, rain pouring over him. Please, just talk to me. Hours passed. The streetlights dimmed, the rain grew heavier, but Adrian stayed. By midnight, he was soaked, shivering, and whispering to the quiet door. I love you, Jamie. I'll wait here, as long as it takes. Inside, Jamie sat on the other side of the door, tears streaming down his cheeks, heartbreaking and healing at the same time. He pressed a hand to the door, whispering, You're so stupid, Adrian. But his voice was soft, not angry, just tired. Outside, Adrian stayed all night. Chapter 9, a morning after. The rain had stopped, but the world still smelled like it. Damp pavement, wet leaves, silence. Jamie hadn't slept all night. He sat curled up by the door, blanket wrapped around him, watching the faint light slip under the crack. He could still hear the steady rhythm of rain earlier, and the occasional sound of Adrian shifting outside. He thought he'd left. But every few minutes, there was another soft sound, a quiet cough, a sniffle, the creak of leather shoes on wet cement. He hadn't left. Jamie sighed, wiping his swollen eyes. You're ridiculous. Slowly, he unlocked the door and pulled it open. Adrian was sitting on the steps, drenched, hair messy, eyes half closed from exhaustion. When he saw Jamie, his head lifted instantly. Jamie. Jamie's throat tightened. You look terrible. Adrian smiled weakly. You should see the other guy. Jamie rolled his eyes, but his voice trembled. Why are you still here? Because you wouldn't open the door, Adrian said softly. And I couldn't leave knowing you thought I'd choose her. Jamie looked down. She came here yesterday. She said you still loved her. She showed me pictures. Adrian's expression darkened. She's lying. I told her to leave. I told her I've moved on. I meant it. Jamie's voice cracked. Then, why didn't you tell me she came back that first night? Because I didn't want to upset you, Adrian said honestly. I thought keeping it short would protect you. I was wrong. Jamie folded his arms, biting his lip. You think you can just fix everything with words? Adrian shook his head. No, but I'll stay until you believe me. Jamie looked at him, the exhaustion, the sincerity, the rain damp, shirt clinging to his shoulders, and something in his chest finally softened. Get inside before you freeze to death, he muttered, turning away. Adrian hesitated. Is that an invitation? Don't push it. But his tone wasn't angry anymore. Adrian sat on the couch, wrapped in one of Jamie's towels, hands curled around a mug of tea. For a long moment, neither spoke. The only sound was the faint hum of the rain outside. Finally, Adrian said quietly, You mean more to me than you know. I panicked when you left. I didn't realize how much He trailed off. Jamie looked up. You what? Adrian's eyes softened. How much I care about you. Jamie swallowed hard, his voice small. I'm scared, Adrian. I don't want to get hurt again. I know, Adrian said. But I'm scared too. I've never wanted to protect someone this much. Jamie blinked, tears gathering again. Then, why does it always feel like I'm not enough? Adrian stood and crossed the small space between them, stopping just close enough to touch. You're more than enough, he said. You're my everything. Jamie's breath caught. You really mean that? I wouldn't be here if I didn't. Jamie hesitated for a heartbeat, then stepped forward and rested his forehead against Adrian's chest. Adrian exhaled, relief flooding his body, his arms wrapping gently around Jamie. I'm still mad at you, Jamie murmured. I'll take that, Adrian said softly, as long as you're still here. Jamie's fingers curled into his shirt. Don't ever leave me outside like that again. Adrian laughed quietly, kissing the top of his head. Only if you promise not to lock me out. Jamie looked up, eyes glassy but smiling. Deal. And for the first time in days, it felt like they could breathe again. The world outside was calm again. The rain had stopped, and the morning light spilled softly through Jamie's living room window. For once, everything didn't feel like it was falling apart. Jamie sat cross-legged on the couch, nibbling at a piece of toast while Adrian, now dry and slightly disheveled, tried to make coffee with the same intensity someone might use to defuse a bomb. You know that's my instant coffee, right? Jamie teased. Adrian blinked at the jar. What's instant about it? I've been stirring for 5 minutes. Jamie burst out laughing a real laugh, bright and unrestrained. You're supposed to just add water, you overachiever. Adrian grinned sheepishly. I was trying to impress you. Jamie rolled his eyes but couldn't hide his smile. Mission failed, coffee boy. They ended up sitting side by side on the couch, sharing the worst coffee known to man. After a few minutes of quiet, Adrian spoke, his voice gentler than before. Jamie, about last night, about everything. Jamie shook his head. Don't, not unless you mean it. Adrian took a slow breath. Then I'll say it right. He turned toward him, eyes sincere. I'm in love with you, Jamie. I think I have been for a while. I just didn't know it until I almost lost you. Jamie froze, heart hammering. That's not funny. I'm not joking. Adrian's gaze softened. You drive me crazy. You make me laugh. You make me want to be better. You're everything I didn't know I needed. Jamie blinked rapidly, fighting tears, then laughed a little through them. You're such a cliché. Adrian smiled. Only because you deserve every cliché in the book. Jamie sniffled. I hate you. No, you don't. Yeah, I don't. He leaned in a hesitant, trembling hand this time, when Adrian kissed him. There was no confusion, no guilt, just warmth. The rest of the day was ridiculous. They danced around the living room to a stupid pop song on the radio. Jamie accidentally stepped on Adrian's foot twice, and Adrian dramatically felt like he'd been shot. They cooked instant noodles together. Jamie somehow burned water again. And when Jamie laughed so hard he cried, Adrian whispered, I want to remember this sound for the rest of my life. Jamie blushed so hard he had to hide his face in Adrian's chest. "Stop saying stuff like that. You're going to make me fall for you again." Adrian grinned. "Then, I'm doing something right." That night, as they lay on the couch watching a dumb movie, Jamie fell asleep with his head on Adrian's shoulder. Adrian looked down at him, soft breathing, peaceful expression, and smiled to himself. "For once," he whispered, "I'm exactly where I want to be." Chapter 11. The morning sunlight spilled through the curtains, soft and golden. For once, it felt like a real home, the quiet hum of the kettle, Adrian flipping pancakes without setting anything on fire this time, and Jamie curled up on the couch, sketching something in a little notebook. Adrian peeked over his shoulder. "What are you drawing?" Jamie smiled faintly. "Us. Don't laugh." Adrian grinned. "I'd never." "Well, maybe just a little." Jamie pretended to throw a pillow at him, and Adrian dodged it easily, laughing. For a few sweet minutes, it was normal, messy, happy, cliché normal, until Jamie's pencil slipped. He winced, hand flying to his chest. "Jamie." "I'm fine," Jamie said quickly, forcing a smile. "Just busy." "Probably nothing." But his voice trembled, and before Adrian could say anything else, Jamie swayed, his knees buckling as everything blurred. Adrian caught him just before he hit the ground. "Jamie, hey, open your eyes." Adrian's voice cracked as he shook him gently, heart pounding. He was breathing, but shallow. His skin was pale, clammy. Adrian didn't even realize he was shaking until he had his phone in his hand, calling for help. By the time they reached the hospital, Adrian's knuckles were white from gripping Jamie's hand. He hated hospitals. The sterile smell, the waiting, the helplessness. He'd faced business failures, public scandals, heartbreak, but none of it compared to sitting there, watching the person he loved lie motionless under fluorescent light. Hours later, a nurse finally approached. "He's stable now," she said gently. "You can see him, but he needs rest." Stress and exhaustion can hit harder during pregnancy. His blood pressure dropped suddenly. Adrian exhaled like he hadn't breathed in hours. When he stepped into the room, Jamie was half asleep, phone hooked to his arm, the soft beep of a monitor filling the silence. Adrian sat beside the bed and took his hand. "You scared the life out of me," he whispered. Jamie's eyes fluttered open. "You waited. I never left." Jamie smiled weakly. "Told you not to freak out." Adrian laughed quietly, but his voice shook. "You fainted, Jamie. You think I'm not going to freak out?" Jamie's fingers curled weakly around his. "Sorry. Guess I'm high maintenance." Adrian shook his head. "You're mine. That's all I care about." Jamie blinked, heart skipping a beat. "You mean that?" Adrian leaned closer, brushing damp hair from his forehead. "Every word." Jamie sighed, eyes softening. "You know, when I passed out, I thought I heard you calling me. You sounded scared." Adrian smiled softly. "I was. I don't want to imagine this world without you in it." Jamie's voice was barely a whisper. "Then don't." For a moment, silence filled the room, warm, fragile, full of everything they didn't need to say out loud. Adrian brushed his thumb over Jamie's hand. "You're going to rest, and eat properly, and stop trying to do everything yourself, okay?" Jamie smirked tiredly. "Bossy. Only because I care." Jamie smiled, eyes closing again. "Stay with me." Adrian leaned forward, pressing a kiss to his forehead. "Always." Jamie drifted in and out of sleep while Adrian stayed by his bedside, reading paperwork under dim light but never letting go of his hand. Every now and then, he'd glance at Jamie's peaceful face and feel his heart ache in that way only love can. For the first time, Adrian wasn't thinking about what could go wrong, only about how lucky he was that Jamie was still here. Chapter 12. The sun had just begun to rise, spilling warm gold through the hospital room's thin curtains. Jamie stretched with a sleepy groan, squinting against the light. His entire body still felt heavy, but the first thing he noticed was Adrian asleep in the chair beside his bed, head tilted awkwardly, still holding Jamie's hand. Jamie smiled softly. He really didn't leave. "Your neck's going to snap like that," Jamie whispered, poking his arm gently. Adrian stirred, mumbling, "5 more minutes." Jamie laughed. "Wow, the big scary boss reduced to a sleepy puppy. Should I take a picture?" Adrian cracked one eye open, smirking. "You wouldn't dare." Jamie gasped dramatically. "Is that a challenge?" "Jamie," Adrian warned in a low voice. "Adrian, Jamie mimicked back with mock seriousness. You should rest, or you'll start growing gray hairs. Adrian rubbed his face. I already have some. You caused at least 3 this week. Jamie giggled. Then, I'm doing my job. 2 days later, the doctor finally let Jamie go home under one strict condition: no stress, no overexertion. So naturally, Adrian took that rule way too seriously. Adrian, I can walk on my own, Jamie protested as Adrian practically hovered behind him, hands ready to catch him if he stumbled. Doctor's orders, Adrian said firmly. You fainted once. Not again on my watch. Jamie rolled his eyes. You sound like my grandma. Your grandma didn't carry you to the car yesterday. Jamie blushed. That was embarrassing. Adrian smirked. You were light, like a feather. A grumpy, complaining feather. Jamie gasped. Excuse me. I'll have you know I'm adorably compact. Adorably dramatic, maybe. Jamie pouted and crossed his arms. You're mean. Adrian leaned down, voice dropping low. And yet, you're still smiling. Jamie quickly turned away, hiding his grin. Don't flatter yourself. The next few days felt like a dream. Adrian worked from home, setting up his laptop at the dining table while Jamie lounged on the couch, wrapped in a blanket like a burrito. Every so often, Adrian would glance up from his screen to see Jamie pulling faces at him, or doodling on post-it notes and sticking them on his laptop. By the end of the week, Adrian's computer was decorated with little drawings. A grumpy chibi version of him that said Mr. Serious. A doodle of Jamie sleeping with a thought bubble saying craving pancakes. And one where they were drawn side by side with the words, home isn't a place it's you. When Adrian noticed that one, he went quiet. Then he tore it gently off the laptop and slipped it into his wallet. Jamie blinked. You're keeping that. Adrian smiled softly. I like reminders of what's important. Jamie's cheeks turned pink. You're such a sap. And you love it. That evening, Jamie insisted on cooking. Before you say anything, he warned, holding up a ladle like a weapon. I am perfectly capable of making soup without supervision. Adrian raised an eyebrow. The last time you said that, we had to replace a pan. That pan offended me, Jamie replied matter-of-factly. Adrian chuckled. And what happens if the soup offends you this time? Jamie smirked. Then we ordered takeout. By the time dinner was ready, the kitchen looked like a battlefield of vegetables and spilled broth, but the soup actually tasted good. Adrian didn't say it out loud, but Jamie caught the look on his face. Say it, Jamie demanded. Adrian blinked. Say what? That it's good. Adrian smiled, leaning back. It's edible. Jamie threw a napkin at him. You're impossible. Adrian laughed. Okay, it's good. Better than I expected. Jamie crossed his arms, smug. You're welcome. After dinner, they curled up on the couch together, the TV playing something neither of them was really watching. Jamie rested his head on Adrian's chest, listening to his heartbeat. You know, Jamie murmured, for someone who said he didn't want to get attached, you sure hold on tight. Adrian smiled faintly. And for someone who said he didn't need anyone, you sure fit perfectly right here. Jamie's lips curled into a sleepy grin. Cheesy. True. Still cheesy. Adrian brushed a strand of hair from his face. And yet you're smiling again. Jamie sighed softly, closing his eyes. Can you blame me? I've got everything I need right now. Adrian pressed a gentle kiss to his forehead. So do I. And for once, the world didn't feel like it was waiting to fall apart.